You cost me a bonus that J.J. is in his office signing at this moment. You stole that from under my nose.
Dad?
Oh! Never creep up on Daddy like that when he's medicating.
The show only lasted one season. Although the ratings weren't bad, they weren't great either, and the network decided not to renew it.
He's like chocolate mousse. You like a taste of it, but you can't have it for the whole meal. He's a second banana. He was not the star.
Paul's failure as a leading man may have contributed to the biggest problem he had, drinking, which was becoming ever more public during the 70s. In 1974, he was arrested in Ohio after yelling obscenities at a patrol officer. In 1978, he was arrested in Salt Lake City for public intoxication. He was picked up for drunk driving on numerous occasions. And that wasn't all.
This one evening he went out to a big, huge gay bar in Columbus, Ohio. And he got exceedingly drunk. And he was dancing on the dance floor. And someone came over and insulted him terribly. He just put a cigarette out on the person's cheek. That was shocking. I think he was very, very sorry after that.
Friends began to withdraw from Paul. Even those who considered themselves close friends felt that it was just too difficult and hurtful to be around him when he drank.
He'd say to me, "You're never going to get anywhere. You're too overweight." And I thought, well, I don't need this. Every time he comes over and has dinner, he gets drunk. He burned the carpet one day, and I thought, well, hey, I'm not making your kind of money. Don't burn my carpet. So, you know, I didn't want to take any more abuse from him. But he was a very exceptional person.
I don't think anybody ever stopped loving Paul, even anyone who might have been attacked by him. You just loved him. People were passionate about him. He evoked great loyalty and sorrow if he did something that was horrible.
Paul no longer made much of an effort to disguise the fact that he was gay. Although he never officially came out of the closet, he came pretty close.
An interviewer once asked him in the late 70s why he wasn't married, and he said, "What, do you live in a cave?"
Paul's romantic attachments were problematic, however. He spent a lot of nights cruising gay bars, both in Los Angeles and on the road. He had many boyfriends, but he never seemed to hang on to them for very long.
Oh, I met several nice fellows. The important one was Pablo, the artist from Brooklyn, and spoke Spanish, knew very little English, and had no idea who Paul was. He was a lovely man.
By the time the end of the 70s rolled around, Paul was very rich and very well known. He was also chronically unhappy and lonely. It was time, way past time, for a fresh start. By the end of the 70s, Paul Lynde was in his 50s and heartily bored with Hollywood squares. Even though he had no other work lined up, he decided to leave the show.
He left halfway through the season and he got no offers whatsoever. And the producers realized that the ratings just dropped like unbelievably, and they said, we have to get him back somehow.
They finally made a deal with him, and he got more money, and deservedly so. He should have gotten more money. He came back.
When he returned to the squares, Paul shared co-star billing with Peter Marshall. The show was now in syndication, and it lasted another year. And in 1979, Paul made what would be his final appearance in a movie. He played the role of Chief Nervous Elk in The Villain.
What in it for? Nervous Elk.
Scalps.
Scalps? Come now, Nenny Sticker John.
Cactus Jack. Cactus Jack Slade.
Whatever.
Once again, Paul Lynde was playing Paul Lynde. Paul was now living in a new home. His beloved dog, Harry McAfee, died in 1977. Paul couldn't stand to live in the Errol Flynn house without him, so he bought a house in Beverly Hills. Once again, he spent a lot of time fixing it up, and once again, he was weirdly protective.
He had a big open house party, and he wouldn't let us in the house. We ate outside. I don't want anything messed up. I said, are you crazy? But he was eccentric. Let's just say he was eccentric. And I adored him. I really did.
But much more significant changes were happening in Paul's life. He was finally fed up with his offstage activities. After years of boozing, he decided to clean up his act. He decided to give up alcohol.
He had become completely sober, and I think he beat me to it by a bit, and he would call me up to see how I was doing. And he would tell me how good it felt, and how alive and well and alert he felt.
In 1981, Hollywood Squares ended its 15-year run, and Paul started to think about what to do next. He was considering a move back to New York when he took a small part in a hidden camera comedy show. One morning, the producer and crew came to pick him up for a shoot.
It was midday and the newspaper was in the driveway, and my first reaction was, oh man, he's not home. He never came home last night. He's out playing or doing something, and he's screwing me. And later that evening, I heard from the Beverly Hills police, who, you know, he had been discovered. He was home all right, but he was dead.
Paul had died in bed of a massive heart attack. He was only 55 years old.
I met his doctor a week after Paul had died, and Dr. Packard said that with the autopsy, Paul had a heart of an 85-year-old man. And that was that story.
But because it was Paul Lynde, Hollywood was rife with sordid tales of a male hustler at his deathbed, poppers and drugs littering the bed. None of these stories appear to be true. What was true was that before his death, Paul Lynde had finally turned his life around.
It made me so sad because he was just beginning to live a life where he got up feeling good in the morning and looking forward to the day, and then he died.
He was just a very talented man. He was a man who will always be remembered as a comedy genius.
I'd like if you'd all like to hear this poem that he wrote that I think is one of his funniest. The title is Trouble in the Tulip Bed. I don't know what to say. A tulip talked to me today. I was trimming the hedge quite near the mountain ledge when
Quite near the mountain ledge, when lo and behold, my blood ran cold. Yes, a tulip screamed at me today. It was my favorite, the one I call Blanche. She puckered up her petals and screamed, avalanche! Yes, a tulip saved my life today. Now, you may not think this quite so much, but you see...
But you see, most tulips speak Dutch.